the car, and there sitting there is a semi-automatic machine gun, which, by the way, is illegal. So obviously he arrests the kid for having possession of the firearm and so on. So there are some expedient circumstances under which the government doesn't need a warrant to search you, but generally it does. The rule is that the government must conduct reasonable searches, and reasonable searches are generally with a warrant. That's the Fourth Amendment. It's an observation that you have a right to your privacy. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Court has said that all of you have a right to be secure in those places that you feel that you have privacy. Now, if you're having a conversation in an elevator that's full of people and you say to your friend, listen, I'm thinking of killing Chum Chum as soon as this elevator stops. Yeah. Well, the government can record that without a warrant because you didn't have an expectation of privacy in a busy elevator. But if you're in your room and you're saying it to somebody else, and that somebody else doesn't give authority to the police to record you, and you don't give authority, the government needs to have some sort of warrant to wiretap. Listen, as soon as we get out of this room, I'm going to kill Chum Chum. Okay? If not, and they do, then that statement can't be used against me with regards to killing Chum Chum. Sorry, Chum, you're dead at the end of this either way. I know that you're okay with that because you're a good Chum.
So if let's say the cops or whatever, they give kill someone, so they can't check.
Well, if the police feel that you are going to have conversations that are ultimately conversations that lead to a crime, they can go to a judge, convince the judge that they have something called probable cause, reason to believe that you're engaged in conversations about a crime, and the judge will issue an order, which is called a warrant, and they will be able to bug your phone and listen to your conversation. But without that warrant, they can't. Okay, they can't. Generally, they can't. There are these new laws called the Patriot Act that kind of make that fuzzy, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, we're not going to worry about that right now. So the Fourth Amendment gives people a right to privacy in their stuff, in their person. Okay, in their stuff, in their person, so that you can live your life without the government interfering. And it isn't so much, think about it, it isn't so much the right that's given to criminals. Because if I said, well, the police shouldn't see this drug dealer, they shouldn't be able to, but all of us would say, he's a drug dealer, this police should be able to do it. The problem is that oftentimes the police don't necessarily know that it's a drug dealer, so they wiretap, they record conversations of people who are not. Of your conversation with somebody, that it's a private conversation. Your photographs, your text, your emails with somebody that you want to keep private. And therefore, that protection is very necessary to us. Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment to the Constitution is an amendment that's extremely popular. Number one, it's my favorite number 5.
Why?
I don't know. Well, because I was born on the 5th month on the 25th day. So 5 is an important one. My oldest son was born on the 5th day of the month, and my oldest child was born on the 25th day of the month. So 5 is a pretty important number to me, but the Fifth Amendment is probably one of the most popular because generally, people that don't know the law, when they're asked a question, they know that they're going to have to tell on themselves. I plead the Fifth. It generally says, I did it. The Fifth Amendment, the right that is most recognizable in it is that we have a right not to tell on ourselves. The government can't force us to tell on ourselves. Okay? And that's the right that you all know about when a police officer stops you and is going to arrest you and he says you have the right to remain silent. Very good. You have the right to remain silent. That comes out of the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Yes?
Can you say that? Then how come
the rights? As soon as I answer
how come
the next question.
In the interrogation, like, why did you kill him? Did you kill him?
Because what they do is that they read those rights, and if the person doesn't say, I'm going to remain silent, they can still talk to you. And as long as they read you your rights, they can talk to you.
Oh, okay.
But if they say you have the right to remain silent, and you say, I'm not going to talk to you, they can no longer talk to you because you've exercised your Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. The rights are, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one shall be provided for you. You understand these rights. Okay, that's the rights that are given to anybody that is arrested or going to be arrested for a crime. Now, the Fifth Amendment has a couple of other rights in it that are not as well known, but are just as important. Number one, the Fifth Amendment has a right against double jeopardy. And there was a movie a couple of years ago, which was a very popular movie, and every time I talked about the Fifth Amendment right against double jeopardy, people would ask me about it. And let me tell you what the theme of the movie was. It was pretty cool. This woman had gotten married with this man, and they had a child together, and apparently the relationship had soured. He was having an affair. You know the dramas that get on TV. So it actually wasn't TV, it was in the movies. And what he did is he apparently was involved in crimes. He wanted to make himself disappear. So they went on a yacht. He apparently owed a lot of money to a lot of people. She was not necessarily aware of it. And in the yacht, he drugs her.
Well, the wife or
He drugs the wife. So she wakes up the next morning and there is blood all over the yacht. She's the only one on the yacht at the time. And there is some weapon that incriminates her. So obviously they find the yacht. She says, I didn't do it, but she doesn't remember what happened the night. So they try her and they convict her for the murder of her husband, because even though they did not find his body, there was enough blood where they said, you know, nobody could have survived this. Okay? She's in jail. They're moving her. She's able to, well, she keeps in contact with her best friend, who ultimately is taking care of her child. Over some period of time, the best friend disappears. And her contact with her child disappears. And she's very stressed because the most important thing in her life is her child. So they're moving her from one place to another, and she manages to escape. And then she begins the investigation to try to find out where's her son. In her investigation to find out where her son is, she tracks him down with the father and with her best friend, who's now the new wife. Now, she's already been convicted for the murder of her husband, the guy that's here. So she says, hey, they can't convict me again for killing you because I've already been convicted. That's double jeopardy. So I'm going to kill you. That's Hollywood. That doesn't really happen. But what double jeopardy really means is this. If you are tried, if you're accused of a crime, and you're taken to trial, and a jury finds you not guilty, you can never again be tried for that crime, even if you say, I did it. Let me say that again. If you are found not guilty, you can come out the next day and say, I did it, and the government can't try you. That's why oftentimes the government doesn't charge people even if they believe that you committed a crime, unless they have enough evidence to be able to prove it to a jury.
Is that what happened to your person? That when like he said like, that when the case was closed, that you went next day and like, I did it, guys. What do you say? The lower thing, whatever.
If somebody is found not guilty and says I did it, they cannot be tried again for that particular crime. Exactly.
No.
Okay, come.
No, I always have to be so
Double jeopardy. It's a pretty good one.